to East Carolina University's campus. We're here for another installment of Pirate Parents Live. Today we are talking money matters. It's very important if you have a high school junior, senior, or maybe even a current college student, and you want to know about everything from scholarships and loans and grants to financial aid and FAFSA, and even what some of those donors and application reviewers are looking for when they look at those applications. We're going to talk about all that for the next 30 minutes or so. If you're watching us live on Facebook right now, you can type in your questions in the comment section. We've got folks that are monitoring your questions. They'll feed them to us, and we'll ask them to our panelists here. If you're watching the archived edition, we hope you enjoy that. If you have additional questions, we'll try and jump in on Facebook and field those as we go. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panelists, starting here on the far side, or the closest side rather. We have Julie Foreman. She's the Director of Financial Aid. She's been in the business since 1985, but she's been at ECU since 2008. We're very happy to have Julie and her office do all that they do. Next to Julie is Dr. Dennis McCunney. He's been at East Carolina University for 5 years. He is the Director of the Center for Leadership and Civic Engagement. He's responsible for overseeing 3 scholarship programs, both partial and full scholarships, 1-year and 4-year scholarships, and he works a lot with our donors. Next to Dennis, we have Melanie Bryan. She's the Director of University Scholarships and has also been at ECU for 5 years. She works with the scholarships, helps prospective and existing students and their families with the scholarship searches and the questions. These are our experts. I'm going to back out and throw them questions. We hope you enjoy, and again, throw those questions to us live as you bring it in and send them in on the comment section. So I'm going to start off with kind of a general question, Julie, for you. Some folks may not even know where to start, and that's a common thing that we've heard. You each have probably heard it in your office. Where do I begin? I'm not even sure. Do I do scholarships first? Do I do it financial aid first? Get us started. Where should somebody who's getting started with this go?
If your student is a high school student, whether junior, senior, okay, first thing you do is you apply for admission. The second thing you do, starting on October 1st, is to file the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA. It's available at fafsa.ed.gov, and that's the opportunity to get into consideration for all kinds of financial aid, grants, scholarships, loans, and work study opportunities. Melanie, you want to tell them about scholarships at ECU?
Sure. At ECU, once you have been accepted and you have set up your Pirate ID and your passphrase, we have an online scholarship portal called ECU Award. You can log into the portal and apply, put in your application to be considered for over 900 different scholarships on our campus that range from single year to renewable 4-year scholarships. We also instruct or ask the parents to think about making sure their students talk to their high school counselors. They visit search engines like scholarships.com, fastweb.com, check with civic groups, check with your local credit unions, check with your employers, because there's a variety of external scholarships that a student can bring into ECU with them in addition to receiving campus-based funds.
So a couple of those websites we talked about, we're going to put them up in the comment section. For FAFSA, which opens October 1st, ECU.edu/financial is a great place to go to find that. University Scholarships for ECU Award is a fantastic. Melanie, tell us a little bit about when somebody goes there, they can pretty much filter and search now. It's much better than it used to be even a couple of years ago.
Right. It's a very searchable site. You can key on the major. You can key on if you're, say you're a junior, you want to see what scholarships are open to juniors. There's a big search box. If you want to know what scholarships are open to social work, it'll take that list of 900 and sort it down just to those relevant to the specific major. 80% of the scholarships on that site, if the student does one application, they're considered because they match. They're looking for a certain major, a certain GPA, a certain demographic item like where you're from, and it'll match you into those, and then it presents you with a dashboard, and on that dashboard you look at opportunities that might have a uniqueness to them. Like you're the relative of a veteran from Pamlico County. You don't tell us that on an admissions app, but if you are the relative of a veteran from Pamlico County and you will self-identify, then there's a scholarship that you can apply for. So 80%, they automatically match you into them. 20% are relevant and on your dashboard, and then you just look through them and say, yes, I'm willing to apply for those 2 or 3 extras.
So one of the questions that we've gotten coming in, I'm going to throw, one of them is, can somebody explain the difference between a grant, a loan, and a scholarship?
Sure. I'll start with the scholarship. A scholarship is money given to you that you do not have to pay back. And it has a feature that either is renewable or non-renewable. Renewable meaning, provided you continue to meet the donor requirements or the scholarship requirements, you can carry it over the next year or the next year. And all of that's typically spelled out in your award letter. I'll let Julie talk in on grants.
One of the
and
things
loans.
to note is scholarships are generally free money, and they are an award for something you may have already done or to encourage you to keep doing something. If you win a scholarship in the biology department, it might be because you come in demonstrating real strong biology skills, but you're being asked to continue doing biology-related coursework or work. Things like student loans, work study opportunities, and grants are based on essentially your financial need. Some people say, I'm not going to have any financial need. I urge you to go ahead and file the FAFSA. And need is determined by the cost of attendance at the school you're planning to attend, minus the expected family contribution, which is in kind of an artificial formula that's created by the Department of Education, but that's the outcome of the FAFSA. Some of the scholarships that you'll apply for may have a need component, not all of them, some of them. Grants you are required to be able to demonstrate that you have financial need. You do that by filing the FAFSA. Student loans, if you want the subsidized Stafford loan for undergraduate students, the government pays the interest while you are in school. That's a pretty nice thing to have happen, and you're not really going to find it anywhere else unless your grandparents are really well off. So what we ask you to do is to file the FAFSA, and then each school that you send that FAFSA to, whether it's ECU, Pitt Community College, or MIT, let's say that you want to go into biomedical engineering. ECU has that program. You may want to start at Pitt, you may want to attend ECU, you may want to do graduate school at MIT. You can do all of those things, but there is a sequence involved. What you do need to do is to file the FAFSA for each school that you're planning to attend. You file one FAFSA, you list each school. And each school that you've applied for admission to will receive that application and then offer you financial aid based on their cost of attendance. So grants are based on need, loans may be based on need, like the subsidized Stafford loan. The unsubsidized Stafford is less need-based, and it is literally not subsidized by the government. They're not paying the interest while you are in school, but it's still money that you can access to help you pay for your education, even if it's not subsidized. So file the FAFSA to get into consideration for work opportunities. We have 2 kinds. One is where it's federal work study. ECU is given a pot of money. We award it as far as we can into the student population. Then I pay your wages. If the biology department needs to hire 3 students and they've only got money for 2, they're going to look for that 3rd student to be federal work study eligible. I'll pay the wages. That's a need-based program. So it's sort of a need versus merit situation.
So the FAFSA is undergraduate, graduate. Is any criteria or anything that people need to know that for FAFSA, or is it pretty much all-encompassing?
It's all-encompassing.
And it's
I
renewable,
encourage
right?
everybody to file the FAFSA. If it turns out you don't get any need-based money, well, so be it. At least you tried.
And it's something they have to reapply for, right? It's not a
Every
one-time
year.
for my whole career.
Right. It is an annual application process. It's not very complicated once you get through the first one, because much of it is just sort of a renewal and an updating of information. The thing to keep in mind, you said something I was going to respond to, and I forgot what it was.
I was talking about undergrad, grad.
Yes.
Yeah.
File the FAFSA each and every year. If your family's financial situation changes, then we can make changes to your FAFSA. If we're using, for the 18-19 school year, we'll be using 2016's income. If your family situation has changed because you have married or divorced or someone has died, or then have that foundation in place, and we'll go in and make adjustments based on what you tell us. That's called special circumstances. And that too is on the same ecu.edu financial. That form is available to tell you how to do that.
So we got a question from Denise who was asking, when FAFSA is reviewed, is it a consideration? She has a current ECU freshman and a current high school senior.
Right.
Is the number of kids factored into that at all?
Actually, that's a very good question, Denise. And one thing you want to be absolutely positively sure that you do is file a FAFSA for each child. And then the formula itself is quite complicated. It's 24 steps long. But the shorthand is it's based on the type and amount of income coming into the household. And it's based on the family size and the number of family members going to college. So next year, when you have another child in college, your family contribution is actually going to decrease even if your income has increased slightly, because it's going to be divided amongst the number of children in college.
Dennis, let me ask you, so you're somebody who sees, you interact with the students who are scholarship recipients, people who are applying. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that when they're putting information in, that they really need to consider. It's not just, I was a straight A student. What are some of those other factors that people should be considering too?
Sure. Well, as you can imagine, I mean, these scholarships are fairly competitive because they're limited resources. And so I think one of the things that students need to make sure they take care of, at least to start, most basic is, proofread your work, right? Don't do things on a willy-nilly basis and throw it in there and click submit as if you're rushed, because there are going to be problems with it, So fill it out on a Word document, Google Doc, whatever, so that you're making sure you're submitting the highest quality work, because that's the first impression that the scholarship committee has of you. Besides your demographic information, your GPA, etc., what you write in those short answers is important in the quality of it. I'd say secondly, a lot of our opportunities here, scholarship opportunities in particular, have questions around leadership and service. I mean, those are two important parts of ECU's mission. And we hear about them all the time on campus. And so we have a number of donors, scholarship funds, who are interested in demonstrated impact of students' leadership and service abilities and what they've done volunteer-wise. So it's more than just, recounting, you've done 150 hours of service at the local food bank. Yes, that's important. We want to know that. But we also want to know why you did it. What was your motivation for doing it? What did you learn from it? How can you reflect on that experience and share it with others, particularly, people who don't really know you? What can you say that you've taken away from that? And then now what? What are you going to do with that you've learned from it, and how might you apply it to your university experience? I mean, that's really the most important thing, is to talk about the impact those experiences have had on you, on your own educational journey, on your personal journey, and your future identity as a professional. So those are some of the things that make sure you want to include as you're filling out these applications.
That's wonderful. Melanie, so for one of the questions that I've seen come in advance of this, and also while we're here too, is, so if I apply and either do or don't get something right off at the beginning, maybe now I've declared a major, I'm closer to an upperclassman. Are there still opportunities for me beyond that first year for scholarships?
Absolutely. The freshman scholarships somewhat are to recruit you, to get you to ECU. Then all of the departments on campus have money to reward and retain, as Julie said, for doing what you came here to do, for showing well in your program, for getting involved. And so a lot of the biology, chemistry, engineering, business, nursing are reserved for upperclassmen who've come in, made an impact, gotten involved, reflected it in their grades. And one quick note too on Dennis's leadership, a lot of our scholarships will actually require the students to do service while they're here. So they need to think about what it was they were happy with in high school and what they enjoyed and what fulfilled them, because they may be required to continue something like that once they're here. Athletics, a lot of those folks are required to do, so many hours of service a semester. I work with a group of 4-year scholarships that are required to do service throughout the 4 years they're here. So get involved, stay involved, apply as an incoming freshman, and then apply each year as an existing student. And you carry that on our portal into professional school, graduate school, medical school, because we have those scholarships on the portal as well.
If you're watching us live on Facebook, go ahead and put your questions in for our panel into the comments box, and we will address them as they come in. We'll continue to put the website URLs of locations that we've mentioned throughout the program. We'll put them on there, but please do feel free to ask your questions. So I want to pose this, and this has also come up a few times. It's for anybody that wants to field it. I feel like I'm doing some, but I also feel like there's more out there that I don't know. Are there any kind of trade secrets or any kind of thing that maybe the average person won't know if they don't ask, either applying for scholarships or applying for aid?
I'll jump in real quick. First, in addition to what we have to offer on campus, Google search it, check with professional organizations. I spoke to a parent this morning who said, well, didn't your son get some engineering scholarships that were not from ECU? And I said, yes. I said, but what he did was Google scholarships for engineering students in North Carolina, and lo and behold, the Professional Engineers of North Carolina pops up, and they've got 2 or 3 scholarships out there. So you never know where you may find the money, but you never want to pay anybody to do the application for you. Searching is free. Applying should be free. It's just, it's a job almost to just go out there and do the search, but in the advent of Google, it's very easy to find some of those external opportunities.
And I would add too that, like we mentioned, there are limited resources, right, that the university has to offer. But I'd say that we also don't want you to feel like you're just a number either. We want to make this a personalized experience. So even though you're applying through the Scholarship Works system, if you're interested in a particular scholarship and you're curious about it, you want to know more about some of the programmatic requirements attached to that, feel free to reach any of us. I'll volunteer our information, eventually that we can talk with you about those opportunities and answer any questions you have, so that you don't just feel like you are just filling out an application and waiting blindly to hear something, but we can provide some personalized information to you. If you're interested in particular scholarships or opportunities and you have some questions about them, we're happy to talk with you.
I want to make real clear, don't ever hire somebody to help you file the free application for federal student aid. They may guarantee you that they will get you financial aid if you pay them $100 or $800. I can guarantee I'll give you financial aid too, because I will give every student who applies the unsubsidized loan for them to accept or decline as they need. If you sign a contract with somebody, and this has happened in the past, saying I'll pay you $800 and you'll guarantee me that I'm going to get at least $800 in financial aid, I guarantee you I can get you $800 in financial aid. It's called a student loan. Okay? Don't pay somebody to help you file that FAFSA. Here in North Carolina, each of the institutions of higher education works with the Carolina, College Foundation of North Carolina, CFNC. And on October 28th, we sponsor a FAFSA day. Every county has a FAFSA day location. If you're a member of the State Employees Credit Union, State Employees Credit Unions will also offer a FAFSA day event on the 28th. You can go to your credit union and they'll help you. It's a Saturday morning, 9 to noon. This year, it's offered at East Carolina University. We trade off each year with Pitt Community College. So Pitt did it last year, ECU will do it this year, Pitt will do it again next year. Regardless of where you're going to go to college, if you have a question about how to file the FAFSA, give me a call, give Pitt a call, give any school that you're interested in attending a call, and their financial aid office will help you with that. Please don't pay somebody to do that. That's a ripoff.
So we got a couple questions that come in. This one came from Danny. He says, do you have any insight into when repayment for interest on federal loans begins for this year, and how are we notified?
Okay, you should have received notification as a part of your notice of guarantee and disclosure. When you sign that document, you sign the master promissory note, you should receive a thing called the notice of guarantee and disclosure. You may have received it via email if you did your promissory note electronically. I would urge you to go ahead and print that out and keep it in the file of materials that you have for your child, your FSAID, your copy of the FAFSA, all that stuff that you're going to just keep. Interest begins to accumulate from the day we disperse the loan, if it is a Parent Plus loan or if it is the unsubsidized Stafford loan. If it is the subsidized Stafford loan, that interest is deferred while the student is enrolled at least one half time. So the government's paying the interest while the student is enrolled on the subsidized Stafford loan. Interest begins to accumulate when the student drops out, drops below half time, or graduates. Then you have a 6-month grace period and you begin repayment on the 7th month. For the unsub or the Parent Plus, the interest begins to accumulate from the day we disperse the funds to the student. But parents may have asked for a deferment. They can either set up a quarterly interest payment and just pay interest while their child is in school, but defer the principal. That's dependent on how you answered the questions on studentloans.gov. If you don't remember how you answered them because it was July and everything was frantic, I would urge you to go out and ask them some questions. Students can create what's called a student account on the National Student Loan Data System, nslds.ed.gov. You can then go out and see, what have I borrowed, what kind of loan did I borrow, who owns my loan, who's servicing my loan, and you can ask them questions. You're also welcome to come to the financial aid office and we'll try and answer your questions as well. Does that help?
I think so. Good question, Danny. Appreciate that. Dennis, for you in your office, when the students get here, talk about the ones that, so you've got Williams Scholars, even outside of your office, we've got residential scholars, we've got a lot of opportunities for students. Engagement is obviously one part of your office. Talk about the engagement piece from somebody who may be a junior or senior and how that factors beyond just service, but being involved does factor too, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things here at ECU is we want to make sure that you're being involved consistently and showing sort of long-term commitment. And because we have a responsibility, particularly to our community partners, that we're not just sort of showing up once in a while or sort of a one-time thing, one-offs, and then going back to campus, but that there's a sustained engagement. So that's part of some of the requirements for a couple of the scholarship programs we offer. In particular, the Dara Scholarship and the Williams Scholarship, 2 leadership-focused scholarships that have built into them an expectation that all students will participate in one of ECU's newest leadership programs, ECU Leads. It's a 3-year leadership certificate type of program where students learn about leadership all along the way, their commitment, some of their skills, growing areas, and then take some classes in leadership, and then also do a certain number of service hours, 40 to 50 service hours. So part of that, though, the reason is because we want to make sure that there's a sustained commitment and that students are showing that, and that they're showing that they're committed to ECU's mission, and that's there for a reason. So again, it's one of those, a couple of those scholarships, and we can't go through all of them right now, but that have quote unquote strings attached, but they're built that way because a particular donor or foundation wanted to make sure that the resources they were providing to students were going towards their education in a kind of a unique way, right? Not just only their accumulating credits, but a holistic experience, right? So that it was both inside and outside the classroom experience. And so that's some of the wishes that we try to respect, that we do respect of all of our donors, to make sure that we're helping to develop and provide pathways for our students that fall in line with the requirements for the scholarship and what the donor is hoping the students will learn, but then also connect well with ECU's mission.
So we got about 5 or 7 minutes left in the live edition.
Can I piggyback on this?
Yeah, absolutely. And just go ahead and put your questions and comments, and we'll keep rolling eventually.
Okay, what Dennis has said is very true, and students need to sort of give back to the community because the community, in terms of scholarships, is supporting them. I would say to parents that, one, the work-study programs and on-campus employment are also very important. And as someone who hires a good many recent college graduates, I look to see that the student has learned the balancing act, how to balance their academics and employment and their service commitments, whether it's to a sorority, a fraternity, or to the food bank or to the Red Cross, because I need to know that they, as an employer, can balance their personal life as well as their professional life. And so that's what I look for when I start looking at resumes of who I'm going to interview. There is a very practical need to do service as well as the altruistic need to give back. So please keep that in mind, and don't encourage your students to focus just on their studies. Instead, have them focus on learning that balancing act that as an employer they're going to be looking for.
And that's a great segue. My next question was going to be going towards Melanie, and Dennis would be, so our chancellor is very committed to a global experience. He has said that out and about. We're at about 12.5% that get a global experience. He wants to double that in the coming years. I know we have a parent scholarship that helps with alternative break experience trips that, Dennis, you could talk about one of them coming up in just a second. Melanie, we have others like the Rivers that come out of the Global Affairs office. So even once they get here, they can enhance their experience connecting to some of the programs. If you guys could talk about that, that'd be great.
Sure, and we've had a push to increase the number of scholarships available for study abroad. We have them embedded in some of the departments, some of the colleges, and then some that are in global affairs that are open to all majors, all grade levels. I would say that I know one of the questions I was asked early on was, when can students apply? Campus-based opportunities open November 1st. Some of the study abroad opportunities actually opened last week when we had our big kickoff for study abroad opportunities for the spring and summer. And if you are sitting around this weekend and have a few extra minutes, the students could start their applications on September 1. It's a live application until January, so they can update it, refine it, but it's not like they've got to do it and submit it and then they can't correct it. It's a live application from September 1 to January 15th. A little later in some other programs like nursing and Brody, because they have sort of later admission dates, but start now, look at study abroad, look at your biology or your major specific, and then look at some that are open to all students, like residential scholars, or a lot of the ones in student affairs are open to all majors. So you could actually do one sort of application on the portal, but be considered for 12, 15 different scholarships.
Julie, did you want to jump in on that?
I do. I want to segue from that. About 10 days ago, parents, if you know that your child has a Pell Grant, we sent an email to all Pell Grant recipients that if they choose to have an interest in study abroad, the Gilman Scholarship is something we'd like them to apply for. We sent that email to over 7,000 Pell Grant recipients about 2 weeks ago. If your student is getting a Pell Grant and has expressed an interest in study abroad in spring, summer, or when they get to junior year, something like that, make them go back and look for that email and read it again.
Have them check that ECU email address. Sometimes they don't do that.
And Gilman is a sort of national scholarship, but we've had recipients over the last 4 or 5 years, so there are subject matter experts on campus that can help the students as they're going through that application process. So it is definitely a great way to help fund study abroad with some external dollars.
Dennis, so you can touch on the ABE kind of experience locally and now the new one globally coming up.
Sure, yeah, like our chancellor, like Chris said, our chancellor has prioritized this global learning opportunities for students. And so, that can include anything from a semester long to a short term, 1 week experience. And so, alternative break experiences are, I think, an important part of ECU's culture, popular way to spend your spring break, learning about a different culture, a different part of the world, part of the country. One of the opportunities that is connected through study abroad is international service learning that we're just starting to offer through student affairs in partnership with some other folks on campus, headed to Belfast, Northern Ireland in the spring. So it's a great opportunity to learn about another culture and get to know the like-minded students. So we're excited about that, and again, there are some resources available to help subsidize those experiences, in particular that one that I mentioned, but other ones as well, to offset the cost and make it much more accessible and affordable to everyday students.
I have another quick question. Kara asked, are there employment positions available to freshmen to work on campus?
Absolutely. We offer a student hire website. It's called Hire a Pirate, and when you pull up ecu.edu in the search box, type Hire a Pirate, and it will take you to that. It's embedded within the HR system. Just look for the jobs labeled student.
And I'll add on to that, we've got over 1,200 jobs in student affairs. There's many across all the colleges across campus. One of the benefits for parents, if your student gets a job on campus, a high majority of the time, our staff and administrators can work around their class schedules in a lot easier fashion. If they go in and out from a job, they're walking literally from one building to another. They're not having to get on a bus or a car or anything like that. So work on their time management, make sure that they can still go to class and take care of their stuff, but there are definitely opportunities. So as we come to a close, I want to give you each an opportunity maybe to touch on what's the one thing that your office tends to get. What's that one question that you always tend to get that maybe you can answer and it'll help a whole lot of people? I'll start with you, Billy.
Just how do I manage to pay for college? And as the mother of 2 college graduates from ECU, you get to the other side, but it is a process. Make sure you do your forms in a timely fashion. File your FAFSA in October. File that scholarship application. Keep up with your passwords and your logins, and remember to do it every year. And if in doubt, and when you have questions, scholarships at ecu.edu.
Dennis?
Yeah, I'd say probably the biggest thing is something that Julie mentioned already, is showing that balance, that what you've learned both in the classroom through your studies and out of the classroom, and making sure that you can talk about that in a way that helps other people understand that that you have some balance, that you're not all up here, but you're here too, and that what drives you. And I think it's important to practice that, not only in your writing for when you apply for these things, but also in your speaking. Why are you interested in this place? Why are you interested in coming to ECU? And what do you plan to do with this kind of education in the future? That's really important to practice that, to think about that. What drives you, what motivates you, what have you learned both inside the classroom and through your experiences outside?
Julie?
The one thing that I would say is, if you receive an email, please read it. And if you don't understand it, ask a question. My office is open 8 to 5 every day, Monday through Friday. We're not frequently here on Saturdays. But if you don't understand, ask us. If you get an email that you really don't understand, you can send us an email saying, what are you asking for? And we're happy to answer that question. We're a large office. We got a lot of folks. Get to know who your financial aid counselor is. That's posted, I think, on the website. Come see us. The student is here, parents are away. The student should just wander on in and ask.
As I am wandering on in, I will say, we often tell our kids, I have a 15-year-old, 11-year-old, don't be afraid to ask the dumb question. That kind of goes for the parents too. If you're not sure of the answer, go ahead and ask it. A lot of times, I don't know if you guys get it, but I get the ones, I'm really sorry to bug you.
Nope.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Our job is to be here to answer your questions. We've got a parent office. Emily Lynn Atkins can answer your questions. If she doesn't know, she's going to point you to the people that do know the answer. So if you're not sure, ask away. We hope you found this to be very informational, informative, and helpful in some of your decisions that you're going to make going forward. Please let us know if we can help, and hope you enjoyed the program. Thanks.